to take number 2 of this episode of Web3 and Me. After some brief technical difficulties, I am here with Dan Locke today. We are discussing all things NFT market. Plus, we'll be joined by Tommy Wilson to learn more about his art, how he found NFTs, his time as a professional baseball player, all sorts of great stuff. We'll be diving into Moonbirds, Tiffany Company, Xcopy, potatoes, everything relevant in the NFT market. Before we get started, please go ahead and like today's stream, subscribe to our channel, and head over to flowlio.com. That is FLOLIO.com to try out all of our free NFT tools. Dan, how are we doing today?
I'm doing good. Hey, my bags are going up for once. I'm
Oh
happy.
yeah, what's pumping your bags?
I mean, mostly potatoes, right? Like, because I talked about it and I bought two at 0.59,
Oh,
and
you
now they're
did.
point one. Now they're at 1.6. So ooh,
Look at
we're
you.
gonna eat
That's
eat some steak today. No, I'm kidding.
that's a W over there for Dan for
Finally, we
sure.
did it.
All right. Well, hey, it's been NFT market has been pretty flat over the
Mhm.
last week. I mean, we've seen very little activity. Let's real quick. I want to pull up the 7-day chart over on Flowlio because your potatoes have been one of the big stories
Yeah.
of the week. It's probably the biggest W you could have made this week. So if we look at this 7-day chart, CryptoPunks at the top, Board Ape Yacht Club right there, but then right behind them, you got those feisty little potatoes sitting at a 1.53 floor, 4,900 owners. Let's look at some of the charts and kind of see what has really happened here over the last week. So, if we scroll down, we can see unique owners have dipped just a little bit. It's not a
Mhm.
significant number. It's only 3%. So it looks like people have taken a little bit of profit and, the believers in it have accumulated a bit more. We look at volume. Volume took a little bit of a dip earlier in the week, but it
Yeah.
started to ramp back up. This is a nice little trend. I want to look at the 1 month now. I know it hasn't been a full month yet, but we've seen this trend before where it's ramped up and then dipped a little bit and then ramped up. So I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to see this move
Mhm.
higher going into the weekend as well. Like I don't think a 1.75 or even maybe a 2 ETH floor would be out of the question.
Yeah. I mean, we were sitting at like point 0.8 for quite some time, like between point 0.6 and point 0.8, and everyone was like, "Ooh, well, maybe we got a 1 ETH floor," and then just jumped up to like 1.6. And I think
Do you
it's
know?
mostly,
Sorry, do you know if there was like any big floor sweeps or anything in particular that helped push it past that 1 ETH floor?
well, there's mostly just like the upcoming like features and announcements because staking goes live today. Um,
Okay.
and the
Do
more,
you
sorry.
do you know like any of the mechanics behind that, or is there anything unique there, or what do you get out of staking?
I got it from like a tweet, but I don't know if this is real or just like someone's like opinion or something. But someone said if you stake, it levels up like every week, and then the longer you stake, then you gain more trades or like your trades kind of change. So it's like an ever-changing process. So it's not like, oh, you have this one thing. It's like a set rarity. Apparently, it evolves from time to time. And you also, if you stake, you automatically enter raffles and stuff.
Okay,
And they call it
interesting.
like growing or something.
Gotcha. So another project definitely to keep an eye on is Nina's Super Cool World. This is part of the Goda Mint Pass. So if you had the Goda Mint Pass, you could have minted one of these for point 0.5. This, this is an interesting one because at first glance, I don't view this chart as particularly
Uh
good.
huh.
I had some interesting discussions with holders via Twitter, where basically their thought around this, and like I said, they have their bags packed, so take that for what it is. But their belief is that because Nina Chanel is a well-known IRL artist, that we're seeing a lot of her holders enter the NFT space to collect these pieces, which is true. Like they've had some Twitter spaces where there have been people who have come up and be like, yeah, like I didn't buy any NFTs until this, and now I've started to accumulate them. So we're seeing the floor, definitely one to keep an eye on because this is a very well established person who has art in major galleries enter the NFT space and get get new people coming from outside of NFTs to check it out for the first time. So I think that's a good thing. To me, these don't really do it. Like the art
Mm.
on these doesn't really appeal to me. But to each their own. Like I'm certainly no art expert, but it's definitely another interesting one to keep our eye on.
Yeah, definitely. And like, yeah, this chart's a little bit. They lost almost half their unique ownership in the span of a month, and I think it's because, well, a month, like half a month essentially. Do you think it's because so the pass holders could mint this, right? They could essentially like claim
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yep. No. Well, they still had to pay for it. I believe. I still think it was a point 0.5 mint.
Mm. Well, I guess they had
Um.
like a whitelist sort of thing to it, right? So I guess when the floor went up, you would see a bunch of these people just taking the win on it, right? Because
Yeah.
they minted, and they might just like hold the cow and sell the milk essentially, where they just mint whatever the pass offering and then sell it for a profit, and then they move on with the day.
Yeah.
So I think could you go back to the holder
Yeah.
chart?
So real quick, it's a
Mm-hmm.
29% unique ownership, and like that's to me that's not very good. If we look at this, we have one account holding
Yeah.
217, 150, 147, 129, 80. Like there's a lot of people that are holding a large supply of these, which you could argue if those are holders that are in it for the long haul because they believe in her work as an
Mm-hmm.
artist, then there's a good chance that most of those never see the marketplace anytime soon, which could lead to a supply squeeze and could lead to even higher price floor. That's definitely a possibility. So, I'm not too sure what to think of this one. I have no intention of getting in because, like I said, if you've seen these, the art doesn't really do it for me. And that's kind of an important thing for me is like, if it does go to zero, I want something that at least looks cool that I can like put into a frame in my house or something. But what chart were you interested in, Dan?
On the holder chart, the unique holder chart.
Okay.
Now, at one point, you're gonna see this like stabilize, right? It's just been down. Like they are like between the 21st and the
Yeah.
29th. You can see it go a little bit more horizontal, a little
Still
bit
lost about
down.
it still lost about 200 unique holders, which when you only had 1880 to begin with,
Yeah,
there is
it's a
still more
lot.
than 10%. So
Yeah, it's eventually it should like stabilize and hopefully go up if it's healthy. It's a little
yeah,
bit worrying to see that it's just going down, right? And even today, it seems to be there's even like another spike at unique holders lost, which is a
yeah,
shame to see.
yep. And then if we look at the 1 day chart, apes, punks, and then moonbirds. So this kind of leads directly into our next conversation, which is, I would say, the biggest news of the week. This happened yesterday, but Kevin Rose, the CEO of Proof Collective, which is the parent company of Moonbirds, announced that they will be switching Moonbirds over to a
Mhm.
CC0 project. So for those who don't know what that means, essentially when you bought a Moonbird, you had the exclusive rights to it. You were able to monetize it however you want, do whatever you wanted with it. But now it is in the public domain, so people can do whatever they want with that, even if they aren't a holder. That has gotten some holders upset. Some holders were excited about it. I have a hard time telling if they're like legitimately excited or they're just like putting on a happy face because
Mhm.
they don't want to appear that they're not on board with what the project's doing. But it seemed like a very hasty decision. There was no communication or input from the community. So Dan, I want to know kind of what you think, like what motivated this. Do you have any thoughts there?
I mean, I guess it's cool for projects to be like, hey guys, CC0, you can do with it whatever you want, right? I think it's just some like new marketing tool, honestly.
Yeah, I'm all for it if that's like the expectation from the beginning, or if you give
Hmm.
the people who are the current holders like some input on it. Like if you
Yeah.
they've said for a while that there's going to be like a DAO. I don't know why you don't wait till there's a DAO and open it up to a vote. I've heard some people talk that maybe this was motivated by the people who have invested in Proof because they
Mm.
wanted to remove some of Proof's responsibility in protecting the IP because when it's not CC0, like you have to get involved in potential lawsuits, like Yuga did with Board Ape Yacht Club and Ryder Rips. So there's a lot more that goes into it if you are holding that intellectual property. I'm curious if there were just some headaches that they didn't want to deal with anymore. We've seen the price take an initial dip and it is recovered. So it remains to be seen. I know Kevin Rose is hosting his weekly Twitter Spaces. I'm going to listen in on that. I don't own any Moonbirds. I don't intend on getting any Moonbirds, but I'll be curious to hear his rationale behind it, as well as any input from the community.
Yeah, me too, definitely.
And then in the wake of this, someone very quickly spun up a Moonbirds 2 project and put that out on OpenSea. It was a free mint. There are 0 royalties on it. Like, they legitimately just like put it out there kind of to poke fun a little bit. The floor ran up to almost 0.1 ETH from 0, but it was removed from OpenSea. Not sure if it's because of the name or because of the fact that they were using the Moonbirds logo, which is something that you're not allowed to do. So, it's an interesting time there. Like, it kind of seems like it's a Web 2.5 kind of thing. Like, we want to take Web 3 concepts, but we don't want to give up too much control. So I'm not too sure what to think of there.
I mean, OpenSea in general, with their flagging certain NFTs and stuff, it's bad. I heard that that OpenSea is getting sued as well for just like flagging certain NFTs and being like, yeah, this one's stolen. Yeah, you can no longer trade this. And someone bought it like 8 months ago or something for like the most normal transaction ever.
Yeah. And then also with CC0, keeping on that theme, one of the most famous artists in the NFT space, Xcopy, announced also this week that his work will be taking that route. I think that it's not quite the same as Moonbirds in that most of his work his most well-known work is all one-of-ones, and you're always going to have the exclusive person holding that one-of-one as opposed to a 10K collection. I know he has some of his bigger collections like Grifters and Max Payne Max Payne is his biggest collection, but they're all the same NFT as well, so it's not like too big of a deal there. So we have that going on with Xcopy. Today was the Tiffany's mint for the Tiffany Co CryptoPunk NFT. We got a little bit of news on Wednesday that kind of came out of nowhere that 100 of the NFTs of the 250, so 40% of the supply, was going to be reserved for special collectors. I forget exactly how they phrased it, but basically they were setting aside 40% of the supply for celebrities, influencers, friends, whatever it may be, which to me, as a CryptoPunk holder, I was not a huge fan of that, because I initially was going to try to maybe go for one of these just to see, what happened with it. It wasn't decided on if I was going to keep it or not, but that kind of put a sour taste in my mouth, and I decided not to try to collect it, which has turned out to be the right call, because I think at this point I could buy one on OpenSea under mint price.
Yeah.
Which
it was
is
so weird,
absolutely,
though.
Yeah.
Like they. Carry on.
No, go ahead.
Okay, it wasn't written anywhere that they would do this, right? Where they would reserve 100 mints for special collectors or something. It's odd, right? They just suddenly posted, oh yeah, 100 have already been minted and it's for special people. Okay.
So it wasn't 100 had been minted. It was, so the original announcement came out Sunday that the NFT was happening. Then Wednesday morning, and I looked back through their Twitter account and I didn't see anything that indicated to me that there was going to be 100 of them reserved. So looked back through Twitter, nothing was there. Then Wednesday morning they put out that later that day they would have early access.
Yeah.
We've seen the floor right now is 28.98. There's no collector royalty or no creator royalty on this one. There's a couple at 29. It's just wild to me to see people mint an NFT for 30 ETH. And I saw one person within 20 minutes of minting it, listing it for right around the floor. I think this kind of goes to show that just because people have a bunch of money doesn't mean that they're particularly, good at this. So let's just keep that in mind moving forward. Just because something has a high mint price doesn't mean that people are going to literally diamond hand it.
The flippers are still out.
The flippers are still out there, man.
They're like, yeah, I did just mint this for 70K, but hey, if I can make $100 off this, it's funny.
They're going to do it. They're going to do it. Let's see. I guess you had Cool Cats on here, Dan, if you want to mention, what's going on with the
something
Cool
to
Cats.
Highlight. Well, I found pretty interesting to bring up Cool Cats again. I know every single time I take the words Cool Cats in my mouth, it's followed by something negative. And it is, again, this time. I found it interesting to look at the floor price again, because the floor's at 2.7. I don't recall it being this low in a long time. Because during NFT NYC, they went up to like 4 ETH. And just, it's so weird to see that they have like no volume. It's like maybe 2 or 3 sales a day and just people accepting offers. And yeah, it's a little bit sad to see.
Yeah, that is. I feel for the cool cats there, man. It is not ideal. So the last thing that we will touch on before we welcome our special guest in is that the Goblin Town, the Grumple trap mint has already ended. So it would appear that we had about 1,800 traps that were set with the burgers. Not sure the total number of burgers that were burned. I believe it was around 3,000 or so. So, plenty of them with 1, 2, and 3 burgers. But floor price on that is right at 1 ETH. The McGoblin Burgers floor is about 0.95. And then the Goblin Town floor is actually under 2 now, which I find to be fairly surprising. We do know that there's going to be some form of future utility for the McGoblin Burgers, which is why I think the floor hasn't like totally crashed, because that was right around where it was the other day. I keep going back and forth on this. Like, I want to believe in this project because I do think that they are innovating and doing some really cool things. I just think people are impatient right now and kind of want to just like get some money and run. So I still think that this, I haven't gotten back in because it's just the art isn't my thing. The community isn't my vibe. But if it's yours, if you're watching this and you kind of like what they're doing, not financial advice, but I think that it's not the worst thing in the world to get involved in.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good entry because I think we called the sell at like 1.8 with the burgers, right? Like just before it started.
Yeah.
And it seems like a really cool project. Again, I haven't been involved because it just seems a little bit weird with all the like how they speak and stuff. A little bit daunting to approach. But the story seems cool, and I think it's worth investigating at the current price.
Yeah, they actually are doing like some innovative things from a mechanic standpoint with the McGoblin Burger launch, with the setting the traps to catch your companion. I think that's pretty cool. So that'll wrap it up for the NFT market. Next, however, I'm very excited to welcome on our special guest. He is an NFT artist with work on Super Rare, Nifty Gateway, OpenSea. You can also find him in his spare time playing a little bit of baseball here and there with the Baltimore Orioles organization. This is our good friend, Tommy Wilson. Tommy, how we doing? Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you guys for having me. Can you guys hear me all right? Everything's going?
Yeah, you sound perfect.
Everything is, audio is great, video is great, your beard looks fantastic. I'm jealous because I'm the only one on this stream who can't grow a beard worth a damn, so, everything's good, man.
I appreciate that. I'm growing it out a little bit, kind of like, testing it out. This is the longest by far that I've ever had it, so.
Yeah. Are you, where are you these days? I'm out in Denver. Dan here's in the Netherlands.
I'm in Florida currently, so I'm at this.
So growing out that winter beard.
Yeah, I mean, like, I might as well get it started now, grow it out through, the winter, and see what happens. Just try something new,
Okay, so you're down there at the Orioles training complex?
Yeah, spring training complex. Currently rehabbing a shoulder injury, so unfortunate, but it's all good. I'm just trying to get healthy, and so it's all good.
Okay, very good. Has the shoulder injury impacted your art creation in the NFT world?
I would say if anything, I have more time. During my rehab days, just because we get everything done super early in the morning. During season, I'm at the field for like 10 hours a day, probably.
Wow.
So that makes it super tough to create. I have more time honestly right now to work on stuff than I usually do.
Okay. Well, hey, let's. I want to jump into this because it's very interesting that pro athlete, NFT artist, and you're not like one of these flash in the pan brand new guys. Like, you've been around the NFT art game, before Dan and I knew what NFTs were. So give us a little bit of, I look back through Super Rare. The earliest mint I found of yours was August of 2020. Is that accurate, or do you have ones before that?
Yeah, it's actually today. 2 years ago today was my first Super Rare mint.
What? Incredible.
Because I remember I was like, I can't forget August 5th because I need to put out a tweet. That was my genesis on Super Rare. My first drop was with Nifty Gateway, which was like last week, 2 years ago. So
Okay.
it's been a while, man, which is crazy to think about. Because like I don't know, like when I first dropped on Nifty Gateway, they had like 300 followers on Twitter, and this was like such a new thing, and like everybody was still kind of figuring it out. I was still figuring it out for the first like month. I didn't really even like get it, honestly. I just knew I liked making art and stuff, but it took me like a month to really wrap my head around it. But yeah, man, it's been a crazy couple of years for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When did you start creating art?
I mean, I've kind of done like creative, all sorts of creative things my whole life. I have a super creatively oriented family, so I've done like video editing, art stuff, music stuff. Been playing instruments my whole life. My sisters are in musical theater, so I've kind of just always had like a knack for that kind of thing. But I never really like dove into my own like art process really until NFTs came around. I had a podcast. I don't know, like I just liked doing anything creative just to keep my mind going. But yeah, once NFTs came around, I sort of started jumping into like doing my own art, which has been super fun.
Yeah. So I was wondering, as a athlete, do you think that your mindset is like helping you in NFTs or like as an artist?
Yeah, I would say I'm super competitive, so
Yeah.
that's advantageous and not, because I'm competitive with myself, right? So I always want to get
Yeah.
better, create, a better piece than my last one. That's always my goal.
Hmm.
But like at a certain point in NFTs, I got too competitive with like the market,
Yeah.
per se, like rather than the art aspect of it. So I had to quickly sort of figure out how to like put that on the back burner, like the competitiveness of like making sales or like flipping this
Yeah.
NFT, flipping that NFT, or somebody else making a sale. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I had to sort of figure out how to block that competitiveness out, which thankfully I did. So, but yeah, it definitely comes into play for sure.
How did you discover NFTs? Were you big into crypto before? Like, what kind of got you on that path?
Yeah, so you guys obviously probably know Micah Johnson. So he put out a tweet. This was during COVID when our season got canceled. So I was kind of looking for odd jobs like on the side to obviously like bring food to the table for the family. And yeah, Micah Johnson put out a tweet that I saw, and he was looking for some help specifically from a minor leaguer, which is what I am. I haven't made it to the major league yet because he knows like the struggle. So he was looking for a minor leaguer to help him with this application called Adobe After Effects, which is like a video editing animation sort of program. And I was like, oh, I know how to do that. So I DM'd him, and I helped him animate his collab. Him and Matt Caesar did a collab on Nifty Gateway, which was like one of the first drops on Nifty Gateway. And I helped him animate like the one-of-one. Like it was like a handwriting, pretty simple, but I helped him out. And then I was like, whoa, this is super cool. Like, might as well start like making my own stuff. And yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. So big shout out to Micah for getting me into NFTs.
Yeah, he's great. And
yeah, I'm a fan of Aku. I think he does awesome work.
Yeah,
Super
for sure.
awesome. Yeah.
And I was wondering because I scrolled through your super rare stuff, and what is it with all the helmets? I was wondering.
Oh, the Night Riders. Yeah. I don't know. I have this fascination with like the cyberpunk theme and motorcycle riders. I think it's just like super cool, and it's fun for me to make. Like I don't know. I like the what would be the word, like the aesthetic of cycle riders and like fashion, I guess, and sort of bringing a different like twist to motorcycle helmets and that kind of thing. So I have a bit of the cyberpunk motorcycle rider vibe in a lot of my recent work.
Yeah, what I love about your work is it's super like vertical. Like it's very like it goes like so high.
The scale.
And the scale is insane. And you seem to like this something on like the foreground, like with heavy shadows, and then this huge verticality. And it's really cool to see. Like I think it'll make, because I think you posted something about like an AI what is it, like a gallery where you had like your work displayed.
Yeah.
And I think it looks amazing, like as like a real thing. Like it's
Thank
so
you.
vertical and amazing. Yeah.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I do my best. It was a tough like I knew that was what I wanted to go for, like with my work, but it took me like honestly a good while to get to a point where I was like, that's what I'm looking for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's sort of a tough. I don't know. 3D art was like tough for me to figure out, but it's been super fun, and now I'm at a point where I'm like really really enjoying it and able to create that scale of like an overwhelming cityscape landscape that kind of like takes you back a little bit. So yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Where'd you kind of create this style? It's very futuristic. What inspired that?
I mean, lots of the other cyberpunk artists in the space. Like I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. Like Dan Juice. I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
Is it me?
No, not you, Dan.
He's obviously one of the biggest cyberpunk artists in the space. His work is amazing. I don't know if you've seen. I think it's Lazaro 45.
Okay.
A couple other artists that are super super good at what they do. Just the whole cyberpunk genre as a whole.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the video game Cyberpunk 2070.
Yeah.
2077. Is that it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
All of those things, I'm super fascinated with the futuristic, dystopian type, vibe. I just really love it, and I love making it, and that's what I try to do. I like earlier on in my NFT journey, I was like trying to figure out what's going to sell the most, right? And then it's like when you do that, it's ironic because you're not really going to make sales.
Yeah.
And I started making stuff that I really loved making and was passionate about it, and the sales came with it. So.
Yeah, I think that's the right mindset to have.
Yeah.
And one more thing that I was wondering about is 4 months ago you sold a piece to Pranksy.
Yeah.
It was The World Is Yours. I was wondering, did that sale like impact your like popularity, or did it have any effect on like your future sales?
I would say a little bit. Yeah, I definitely think that like turned some heads. It was the first, I guess, like big collector that had purchased one of my pieces, which was like super crazy to me. I came out of nowhere. I just minted it, and then Pranksy came out and met the reserve, which was super cool. So yeah, I think it definitely like turned some heads, gave me some more attention on my work, which was great, and super grateful to Pranksy, and now we've had a chance to chat a few times, and it's been awesome. So yeah, definitely I think that's a big part of the space is when one larger collector sort of opens the eyes of others, right? So yeah, super cool.
Real quick, I'm gonna screen share because I'd like, if you're cool with it, I'd like to pull up a few of your pieces and have you kind of like talk to us about them. Like this is why we like to do the YouTube show with creators, is getting to actually talk through your work. I find it always be really interesting. So let's start with that Pranksy, with that piece. The World Is Yours, and we'll get into a little bit of fatherhood and all that stuff. How that's inspired your work. But let's start with this. So as we look at this piece, like I said, it gives the like the Total Recall kind of dystopian future vibes. Like
totally.
Talk to us a little bit about that. What are some details? And there's always like these little hidden things within each of your pieces, that kind of can tie into other NFT projects. What are some things that you want to really point out in this one?
Yeah, I love to drop like little Easter eggs in there per se. Like that. You can see the motorcycle rider. That was my profile picture for a good while. What else is in there? There was another piece, that red one that kind of got blown out up in the middle, and then some of the Chinese characters are actually like I'm trying to remember. One of them's like GM. And another one I think says "The World Is Yours," and then another one is like. I think one of them is "We're All Gonna Make It." So
you put "Wag Me" in there? Okay.
Yeah, I put "Wag Me" in there. I did my best with like Google Translate. I'm not sure like how accurate they are. I'm hoping they're pretty accurate. But yeah, so I just like to drop a few little Easter eggs in there, just because it's like kind of fun for me to look at it and like, oh, I'm not sure if anybody sees what I'm putting in there, but it's fun to drop little details. I like the details for sure.
Awesome. So let's let's talk about a few more.
Sure.
As I have the page open here, we had The World Is Yours. We have your newest piece that just minted the other day, A Love Without End. We have Burnout, Mad World. What do you want to talk about next?
There's a couple fun. There's fun Easter eggs in all of them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Let's do Mad World. There's a couple of fun Easter eggs I can show you in that one.
Okay. Nice. I'll pull that up real quick.
So, what do we got? I dropped the Cryptoad in there, which I usually do. It's once again a little bit blown out.
Looks like kind of directly above the guy who's standing on the ledge there.
Right. What else did I drop in here? Okay, so it's kind of really hard to see, but in the foreground on the building, up in like the top left, I think the very top left, there's a. Do you remember the piece that ACK did? Alpha Centauri Kid. He did the Christie's one of one that then changed once it sold.
Oh yeah.
And it was like a little Pepe with the sorry balloon. So up in the top left, there's like a sticker. It's like super small, and it's
is it like red with white in the middle?
Yeah, it's like it's the Pepe holding the sorry balloon. There's like a little one of my motorcycle riders below that, like spray painted in black. So yeah, I try to drop little things in each. I'm trying to remember what else was in this one. Those were the two main ones that I dropped in there.
Yeah, Dan, I agree with you completely. Like this would look really cool on a big,
right,
high quality. I was actually, it's funny enough, I was just researching those last night because I would like to get a digital frame for my house because I'm kind of switching more my attention from the PFP thing to actually owning art, and I would like to be able to display that somewhere.
100%. Yeah, I would love to get these up somewhere. Maybe like I would love to get in the Super Air Gallery in New York at some point. That'd be super cool. So yeah, displaying work in IRL is always awesome.
And I was wondering, is there any reason for Chinese over Japanese? Because I know the cyberpunk like aesthetic tends to be more Japanese oriented.
Yeah, just based off of my my inspirations from like different Chinese cities. So that's kind of just where I got that from. I'll like scroll on Pinterest for like hours looking at these super busy Chinese cities like in real life.
Yeah.
So that's where I get that from.
So how do you like start designing this? Do you take like a picture of like a very busy city and then draw over it, or like do you do it by hand?
Like how do I? Sorry, you kind of cut out in the beginning of the question there. Or you should basically ask my process of like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll stroll around on Pinterest for a while, looking at like cities and stuff, and then I kind of just like. Honestly, the hardest part for me is the idea. Like, once I have the idea, I can just like bang it out really quick. So the idea of like, what do I want the theme to be? What do I want it to look like? So yeah, I'll just like kind of wait until an idea hits me. Like for Mad World, it hit me like, oh, like an upside down city and like a regular city, like kind of like stacked on top of each other. And then I'll just like jump right into an app called Blender, which is like a 3D application. And then I'll just kind of like start blocking everything out like in a simple fashion. And then getting like the camera angle. That's like the hardest part, which I always have to do first, because like, I don't know if it makes sense, but if I don't have the camera, like, what is it called? Like the focal length or like the positioning right, it can like screw everything up and I'll have to restart. So I have to like really make sure that camera angle is like what I want, where I want it, the right focal length, everything. And then I start blocking everything out simply. And then, a lot of the lights, all the holograms are like done in 3D, but a lot of like the lights, the building lights, are done like afterwards. I use an app called Procreate on my iPad.
Mm.
I start kind of just like layering everything, throwing in lots of little details, and then I do like color correction stuff in Adobe Lightroom. So
I see.
just a combo of all those, and that's what I get.
I think that Procreate deserves more love, man. Like, I
Oh
think
my
more people
gosh.
need to work on Procreate.
It's like insane, like a $10 application, and it's like
Yeah.
so powerful. It's really awesome.
And Blender is free, right? I think.
Mm-hmm. Blender's completely free. Yep.
Look at all our options for
I know,
cheap and
right?
free.
Blender and Procreate, your combo for 10
There you
bucks.
go.
Like you can create whatever you want. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
So let's. I want to pull up your newest piece, "A Love Without End," and you know, we'll dive into this. I know you just had your first. Was it your first child recently?
Yeah. So I had my first son
Yeah.
in June, mid June. So
Okay.
Oh.
so
I had my first son back in December, so we
Awesome.
you know, we can commisserate on
Congrats.
you know, there's so many wonderful parts, and then you know, a few that aren't so great. But
yeah.
yeah, congrats to you too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he serves as a lot of inspiration for me now, right? Like he's the reason why, you know, I'm doing what I do, right? I want to, you know, put food on the table for him and provide for him. So yeah, that was the inspiration behind this one. I wanted to kind of portray like a dad showing his kid around and showing him the city and like, hey, check this out, man. This is like all for you. So yeah, this one, that was the inspiration behind this one. You can see one of my clone
Yeah.
exits on the right there. You can see my grifter in the top right.
Oh yeah.
And then another motorcycle, one
Yeah.
of the motorcycle riders, the purple and white one. Let's see what else. On the top left, I made like it's sort of like a billboard advertisement, quote unquote, for the Night Riders. So it's like a motorcycle rider standing. And then yeah, have you guys heard of Mid Journey?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
AI,
The AI. Yeah.
It's like the AI application now, which is like insane. So that the one right below the motorcycle, the purple and white motorcycle rider, right below that, there's like a little square and it's like a guy. That was just created in Mid Journey. I just typed in like cyberpunk advertisement and that just pops out. So like, it's crazy like how like the AI is just insane to me, and like I'm definitely going to start using it in my work more often for sure. Just because it just pops that out so fast, and it's like better than something I could do. It would take me like 2 days to create that, right? And then it's like in 60 seconds I can just pop that out real quick. So it's insane. So that's some of the Easter eggs in there.
Yeah.
Are you a fan? I take you're a fan of AI art then, because I know it's been kind of like a little bit of a hot button issue. I know Clear Silver just did a drop that was very, very well done. That I think that converted some people a little bit more to the AI side of things. Like it was very well received. I take it then that you're a fan of that style.
For sure, yeah. I think it's interesting, right? Because I think a new genre pops up every once in a while where people are like, "Oh, that's so easy. Like, why would it be valuable, right?" Like photography, NFT photography at the beginning was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you just like snap a picture and like, why is that worth money, right? So I think the same thing's kind of happening with AI art. It's like anybody could just type in anything into the prompt and like pop out anything. But it's actually like way harder than people think to like really get what you're looking for. Like I've been actually trying to recreate one of my pieces in AI, like a similar style, and it's like nearly impossible. Like I can't even figure it out. So I have major respect for AI artists, and I'm a fan for sure.
What are some of your other favorite artists, out in the NFT space? Obviously, I take it you're a little bit of a fan of Micah as well and everything he's done.
Yeah, Micah's great. Let's see. I'm a big fan of, Carlos Marcial, who does the Infinity Rooms.
Ooh, it sounds so familiar. I'm so bad with artist names. Like I know their pieces, and then it's like the name is like I always forget.
I'm sure you've seen one of his works. He does the Infinity Rooms where it's like just like one room and it's like the camera's going through the room and it just like never ends. He's one of my favorites for sure. Longtime friend. My first drop on Nifty Gateway was with him, and and Gavin Shapiro, who's also great. Let's see. I'm trying to think who else. Those are a couple of my favorites.
Okay.
Obviously, all the cyberpunk artists I mentioned before are awesome. ACK, I love ACK. He's great. I think what he does and his like, I think it's a lot of performance art and awesome use of the blockchain. Yeah, so those are a few of my favorites for sure.
So I'm interested, how do your teammates, do you talk to them much about what you're doing? Do they show any interest in it? Because we've seen pro athletes in the last year or so try to get into NFTs, but it's mainly felt very much like a cash grab.
For sure.
And, thankfully the market has wisened up to that and has stopped giving these people money. So I'm just curious kind of what some other of your teammates think about it. And then also, I think that sports is a huge opportunity for NFTs to gain mainstream adoption. Have you given any thought to like how you would, like to see that play out?
Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of my teammates last year, I was with the Mets before. They didn't really get what the heck I was doing, but they were supportive of it. They thought it was really cool. So that's been cool. And then I got traded to the Orioles, and now like I haven't really talked to anybody about it. So I'm not sure if anybody really knows what I do. Okay. But I'm sure it'll come up at some point. But everybody that I've ever talked to in the baseball world has been super supportive of it, and they're not like, "That's dumb." Like, well, that doesn't make any sense. They think it's pretty cool. Yeah, and as far as like baseball, getting to like mainstream adoption, it's an interesting deal, right? Because like I've kind of like chosen this direction of like being an artist, right, and like not just being like in NFTs. I feel like there's a little bit of a difference.
Yeah.
So given the opportunity, sorry, 1 second.
All good.
Given the opportunity, I mean, I would be happy to be a part of, helping out in any way I can. But I'm not sure if I would be like leading the force, just because that's not really like my area of, in like I'm trying to enter this area of being an artist. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Because didn't MLB put out a commemorative NFT for the All-Star game? I want to say like they had anyone who attended was able to claim a commemorative NFT. So I think it is on their radar. And Candy has their baseball NFTs, and I think that there's so much that can be done with sports and NFTs beyond just like the trading card kind of thing. Like having your favorite team's NFT, your favorite player, and having different experiences with that too. Like I just think that there's a world of possibilities there. So I'm very, very interested to see how that plays out in the coming years.
100%. Yeah. Tons of opportunity. So we'll see where they take it. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah. And could you ever imagine just playing baseball or just doing like art in general?
Oh, I think I'd have to do both.
Yeah.
I just love both too much to give one up.
Oh yeah. I was wondering, is it because I mean you spend like a lot of time practicing baseball, right? Playing baseball. Like at one point, do you ever stop having fun, but only have fun because you're like good at it? If you know what I mean.
That's a good question. I mean, I think I just play because I love the game, right? I think that no matter what happens, I'll always be having fun with it. So if I ever stop having fun, I think that'll be the end of the road for me.
Yeah, because I've got some difficulty because I play some games, and then at one point you ask yourself like, am I actually enjoying this, or am I enjoying it because I'm doing well, right? So I think it's always like an interesting question to ask yourself.
Bit of a balance.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Very cool. How you liking dad life?
I love it.
How's that been so far? Yeah,
I love it. Honestly, it's like the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. It was an awesome experience being able to welcome my kid into the world, and it's been like life changing for sure. My outlook on everything has changed, and I'm grateful. So it's been awesome.
Very cool. I'm happy to hear that. Dan, do you have any more questions for Tommy? I want to be respectful of his time today.
Yeah. What's the name of your kid?
Tommy.
Tommy.
Yeah.
Tommy Jr.
Tommy Jr. Okay.
Yeah. Tattoo.
I love it.
Okay.
Keeping the family name.
That's awesome. Well, very cool. Tommy, thank you so much for joining us. Happy 2-year anniversary on
Thank you,
Super
man.
Rare.
That's right. I gotta put out a tweet. Thanks for the reminder.
Absolutely,
don't
yeah.
forget.
And we'll point people toward this video too, so they can come, see your work. And I love doing these kind of interviews with artists. Like me personally, I was never huge into art before I found NFTs, and I'll be the first to admit I got into NFTs because there's that financial incentive. But what's kept me around has been like the art side of things, and I find it really cool to be able to actually speak to an artist. That was one thing for me. It was like it was hard for me to find interest, find art from the 1600s and Renaissance and all these different periods interesting because I couldn't relate to any of it. But being able to actually talk to someone and hear you talk about how you created this artwork for your son and having a son myself, like I think that's a really cool thing that is going to bring more people into art than we've seen in previous generations. So very excited to be able to kind of experience all this and enjoy your work, man.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I think that's also the beauty of NFTs, right? Is like the connection everybody has with artists and collectors is so tight. So super cool.
All right. Well, I think that is going to do it for today's show. Tommy, once again, thank you so much for joining us. Once again, everybody, please like the stream, subscribe to the channel, head to Flowlio.com for all of your NFT portfolio management needs. For Dan, for the rest of the team at Flowlio, I'm Jeremy. Have a great weekend, everybody. We will talk to you next time.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.